the thing that really caught my attention about our business was that I didn't have to have talent to do it. I had to be teachable and I had to be willing to put in the work. As long as I was teachable and I was willing to outwork everybody else, I could literally climb whatever ladder I wanted to climb. Mike and Jalen could sell circles around me, but if I was willing to outwork them, I would at least have the same opportunity that they would have. Then when you figure out what it's going to cost you, you got to ask yourself, are you willing to pay the price? But a little bit about me. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. My father was a pastor when I was growing up. My biggest thing growing up was I just didn't have a group of people that I fit in with. I was average as an athlete. I wasn't the Mike and Jalen out there playing for Ohio State. But I remember getting to high school and thinking that I just felt lost. I felt lost in my life. Everybody that I knew had a plan. They were going to go to college. They knew what they were going to study. They had an idea of what career they wanted, and I didn't have that. I remember having my best friend at the time. This guy, and you guys probably know some people like this. This guy knew everything. He was going to accomplish everything. He was really riding the coattails of his family. His grandfather was the state fire marshal. His dad was really high up in the fire department. He had an uncle that ran the state police. And so his plan was he was going to go to the Citadel, become a fighter pilot in the Marines and go save the world. And I just wanted him to hang out with me on the street corner. We were going to do our thing. We were wrapped up with people we shouldn't have been wrapped up with, doing things we shouldn't be doing. And I remember, and you would think, Mike, to this day, I would remember what this was, and I don't. But we had a bet one day, and I was 1,000% sure that I was right, and I was wrong. And if I was wrong, I was supposed to leave to go to boot camp with him, and he was leaving the next day. And I remember, and my story really starts here. I remember being 18 years old and hearing my dad's voice in my head. And the one thing one of the many things he consistently told me throughout my life was that your word is your bond. Integrity is everything. It's the one thing that somebody can't take from you. They can strip everything else away, but that's the one thing they can't take away. So nobody expected me to hold my end of the deal. But I didn't want to start my adult life out on a lie. And so I decided to make the biggest decision of my life. I joined the Marines, ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. I served for 6 years, was going to get out, didn't feel like I did my part, volunteered to hook up with an infantry group out of Texas, went to Iraq in 2004, came home in 2005, found myself in 2010 with a firm grasp on an empty sack. I had my job ripped away from me. I got some lung issues while I was overseas in Iraq. I had just gotten involved in network marketing, and that is what got me to understand for the first time ever that if I changed the thoughts that went into my brain, that I could change my decisions, and my decisions would change and alter the course of my life. And it got me growing, got me reading. Through that opportunity, someone introduced me to this business. And the first thing they came and said to me was, hey, look, Mike, we've got an opportunity in life insurance sales. Our average guy is making $100,000 to $150,000 a year. We think you could be great at it. What do y'all think I said? I said, hell no, not me, not this dude. Are you kidding me? I don't want to sell anything to anyone. I sure as heck don't want to talk about death and dying. It was 6 months later, Mike, a good friend of mine that I had a lot of respect for had built a multi-million-dollar business in real estate. And he said, Mike, I know you said no to this opportunity. You know what I did in real estate? I'm going to go do this thing in insurance. I think I'm going to do it even bigger. I'd really appreciate if you came and took a look. In my jaded thinking, I thought, man, this guy, I got to go show up and save face, because if not, this guy is going to see me for the fraud that I am. So I did not come to look at the opportunity. I came in a suit. I remember sitting on the front row that day. There was no power in the building. This is August of 2011, almost 14 years ago. This guy starts writing numbers up on the board, Mike. And I remember thinking, come on, man, ain't no one making that kind of money, working those hours. Like, just be a straight shooter. Like, why do you have to embellish? And then I started thinking, well, look, either this guy's a really good liar or he's the real deal. And I'm the jerk without the job. So I decided I would go get my license, prove him wrong. Got my license in September of 11, worked part-time the rest of that year, made about $30,000, just enough that to prove to myself that I could do it. Jumped in full-time January of 11. Now, check this out, and I'm getting ready to toss it back over to you, but I want to share with you how broken my thought process was at this time. I started as a fireman at age 20. 3 years later, I was in top pay. 10 years into my career, I'm making, they started me out at 19,000 a year at age 20 years old. At 10 years later, at age 30, I was making $60,000 a year. I remember going to my first big event, similar to our main event here, and seeing people walking across the stage being recognized as $100,000 earners. My thinking was so broken that I thought, man, isn't that nice for them? Maybe one day, maybe in the next 10 years, if I put my head down, I can get there and that could change the trajectory of my life forever. Well, I ran scared, not chasing after anything. I was running from being a prisoner, running from having someone put their thumb on me. I put my head down, and it wasn't because I was good. It was because I had a system and leaders like Mike and Jalen that I could lean in. We did a multiple six-figure income our very first year. Been doing it for 13 and a half years now. And it's been the hardest thing that I've done, but it's been the most fulfilling thing that I've done. And by far, it's changed my life in way more ways than finances ever could by themselves.
So you joined the business 13 years ago, first year part-time. You're now obviously building a large organization. How much business will your agency do? How much you guys do last year in total?
Well, so let me back up a little bit. Let me
Yeah,
preface this, okay? So
yeah,
in
yeah.
2022, we had 150 agents issuing business weekly, and we issued $24 million in premium. In 2023, we had about 100 agents. Our business had started to decline at that point. We issued $18 million in premium, and I started over from zero last summer. And so we didn't do very much last year. We're really ramping up this year. But I'm looking forward to a record number in revenue next year. This year we'll probably do a couple of million, nothing much, but it's coming, Mike. It's coming.
I know it's coming. I know it's coming. So, what would you contribute? Because there's a lot of new agents online, a lot of agents that have been here for a year or maybe a few months. Looking back at all the agents you trained, what are like three or four things you contribute to seeing an agent seeing success they wanted? Let's say the agent one makes 10,000 a month, 20,000 a month. What are some key factors they need to start to adopt or doing to get to that level?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm going to go back and answer part of your question that you asked me earlier, and then I'll lead into that.
Yeah.
And so let me just tell you a little bit about my story here. I had gone all in on this, and this is the third time that I built an organization. And last January, I found myself in a situation to where somebody that was never supposed to get an override on me was in a position to be above me in the hierarchy, and they took away over 100 agents from me, and my income went from seven figures to zero overnight. And so I spent a couple of days, and I really had to question a lot of things. I had to question, was it a fluke? Did I get lucky the first two times? Do I have the energy in the tank to go do it again? Do I want to do it again? And so I had to ask myself, what do I really want? And so the first thing that I would tell you to write down if you're taking notes tonight is I want you to ask yourself, what do you really want? And what is your life going to look like if you don't have the ability to get it? See, for a hot second, not long, but for a hot second, I entertained getting a job. my wife asked me, why don't you just go get a job early on in my career? Maybe you guys can relate to me. I don't know, maybe not. But when I first got started in this business, I used to have people asking me, when was I going to go get a real job? My in-laws, when we went to that very first event that we went to, they watched our kids, and this is just out of ignorance, not knowing any better, right? Like their intentions were good, but they were sending my wife and I text messages telling us what horrible parents we were because we left our kids on with them while we went on vacation. So what do you really want to accomplish out of life? And what is your life going to look like if you don't get there? For me, I want to know that the purpose of my life is to live a life of purpose. Coach Michael Burt said in his book, Flip the Switch, that we've all got two versions of our life, the version that we are and the version that we're capable of becoming. The thing that was important to me, the thing that should be important to each of you is what version of your life are you capable of becoming, right? And what is it going to look like if you don't succeed here? Let me share a quick story with you. Does anyone know Grant Cardone's story? Check this out. From ages 18 to 23, he hated his life. He was sick and tired of his life. He was addicted to drugs. He hated his job. He hated himself. And he said what happened was by the time he was 25 years old, his mom told him he wasn't welcome in their house anymore. And so that really smacked him in the face, and he had to make a decision. He made a decision at the age of 25 that he wanted to become somebody of value. He said that most people don't succeed because their problems aren't large enough. Most people don't succeed because their problems aren't large enough. He said his problem didn't start with drugs. He said his problem started when people in his life tried to get him to settle to be a lesser version of himself. Grant, tone it down. Hey, no, you're always going to be a drug addict. Hey, Grant, tone it down. You're never going to speak on stages. Hey, Grant, tone it down. You're never going to be a millionaire, let alone a billionaire. Hey, Grant, tone it down. And he wanted to become the best version of himself. He said that's where 10X came from, that he literally applied himself to do 10 times the amount of effort for whatever it was he was going to be doing, right? So you gotta decide what you want. You got to decide what your life is going to look like if you don't get that. And then the next thing is you got to figure out, what is it going to cost you? What is it going to cost you to get what you want? There's three different costs that we have with what we do. There's a money cost, a financial cost, there's a time cost, and there's an effort cost, right? And so one thing that nobody taught me when I was brand new in this business was that money wasn't income, it was revenue. And money wasn't the goal, freedom was the goal. See, if money was the goal, there's a lot of ways that you can go get money, but I don't want money, I want time and money together. See, what's important to me, Mike, is I want to be able to go create memories and experiences with my family and have the financial resources to back it up. And I want to go find another dreamer that was told he couldn't do it, pull that dream out of his belly and point him to the best system in the world, to the Mike and Jalen's of the world, to the Tony G's of the world, and show them that not if they're good enough, but if they're hungry enough, that they can figure it out, that they can change the trajectory of their life. The thing that really caught my attention about our business was that I didn't have to have talent to do it. I had to be teachable, and I had to be willing to put in the work. As long as I was teachable and I was willing to outwork everybody else, I could literally climb whatever ladder I wanted to climb. Mike and Jalen could sell circles around me, but if I was willing to outwork them, I would at least have the same opportunity that they would have. Then when you figure out what it's going to cost you, you got to ask yourself, are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to pay the price? Because see, there's a cost to everything. This business takes sacrifice, right? And none of us are willing or able to tell you what any of you should be willing to sacrifice. But for me, if you took the dream out of me, Mike, if I would have went and settled and got a job, if I would have given up on being the best version of myself, I would have been okay, but I would have been an empty shell. I would have been a guy with the lights on and nobody home. I would have been miserable to be around, right? And so one thing that we know is that change is one of the most difficult things in the world. There's not anyone on here that can make any of you change, but I was ready. And see, when you're ready, you can't be stopped. So decide what you want. What is your life going to look like if you don't get it? What is it going to cost you? Are you willing to pay the price? And why is this really important to you?
I love that, man. So where are you
If you
going
don't get
now?
any of this right, none of that matters because you're going to be
Exactly.
out of the business because it's not if the business is going to get hard. It's when you get smacked in the face with life, what are you going to do? See, the only way to fail is to give up. The only way to fail is to throw in the towel. Abraham Lincoln lost like 13 elections before he became president. Michael Jordan was kicked off his high school basketball team. Truett Cathy was in his mid-60s when he started Chick-fil-A. Ray Kroc was a failed milkshake machine sales and repairman that ended up buying into with the McDonald's brothers and took their small vision and stretched it. And they had over 10,000 locations around the world when he died. Right. So you got to get this piece right, or the how doesn't even matter. And I remember when I was brand new in this business, and people used to tell me that the why was more important than the how. And I thought that's the silliest thing I've ever heard. Like, if I don't know how to do it, why does the why matter? Well, this is why it matters, just because you got to have something to fight for. Building a business in the United States of America is one of the most difficult things in the world to do. The Pilgrims didn't come over on the Mayflower because they wanted a great education, good benefits, and a great job. We train our kids in our society today to go out there and to be a great employee. I don't remember who it was. I think it was 50 Cent. And he said, I didn't go to Harvard, but a lot of the people that work for me did. Let me ask you this. What are some, unless you've got another question for me, Mike, and put the answer in the chat. What are some key characteristics of a business owner? Or maybe unmute and tell me, what are some key characteristics of a business owner?
Discipline.
Discipline. What else?
Consistency.
Consistency.
Starting.
Did you say starting?
Yep.
That's right.
Sacrifice.
Capitalize. Yes, capitalize.
Failure.
Failure is a huge part of it. Yes. What else?
Perseverance.
Perseverance. Let me share a couple of them that I've got written down here. Schedule. What's your schedule look like if you're a business owner? 24/7 maybe, right? Not 9 to 5. What does your marketing look like if you're a business owner compared to maybe an employee? What does sales have to look like? There's this thing called overhead that you have. There's this thing called unlimited income potential, right? But just briefly, let me talk about this. So many of us come into this business without a background of being a business owner. We come with this employee mindset, this glass half empty mindset, this Mike and Jalen, what have you done for me today mindset? Where are my free leads? Mike, where's my bump and comp? Mike, where's my next agent? Mike, what have you done for me today? Jalen, why haven't you done this? Jalen, what about this? What about this? Right? Business owner equals opportunity. Here's what it is. Here's the way that we should be thinking. A business owner works 24/7. It's going to be 7 days a week. When you start out as a business owner, your income's here. When you start out as an employee, your income's here. You're doing all the work as a business owner for no money. You're working minimum hours so you don't get fired as an employee for here. And you grind and you grind and you grind and you grind. Imagine being on an airplane. What do they have to do to get off the runway? They have to put the throttle all the way down, don't they? Imagine if you were on an airplane and they put the throttle halfway down. Would anybody be nervous? I'd be scared out of my ever-loving mind. Like, how's this thing going to get off the ground? Right? You got to put all the gasoline in to get off the ground. But what happens is when you grind and you grind and you grind, see, if you can do something 18 minutes a day, every day, or 100 hours for a year, or you could get to where you get 10,000 hours in. If you could just do something 18 minutes a day consistently every single day, do you know you're going to beat over 90% of the population? So you got to have a business owner mentality. Let me ask you this. Do you think that if you're a business owner, it means you have to be a business builder? Just because you're a business owner doesn't mean you have to be a business builder. So you might say, Mike, why are you talking about this? I don't have any desire to build a team, because business owner, what that means is it means that you're taking accountability, and accountability equals ownership. right? So let's put our business owner cap on. We know that one, we got to control our own schedule. And if we don't have the talent of everybody else, we've got to put the effort in until we can grow that skill set intentionally to where we're good. Then we know that if we're looking at an airplane, right, maybe one wing is sales and the other wing is marketing. What happens if you go out there and you just start selling to your friends and family and you don't invest any money into your business? You're going to make some money, but then you're going to run out of people to see unless you get incredibly good at referrals right off the gate. What happens if you go invest all your money into leads or marketing, but you don't make any sales, right? So it's a two-pronged sword. If McDonald's didn't go buy new burgers, if Walmart didn't replace its inventory, it's going to be out of business. So as a business owner, I'm not thinking, what am I getting for free? Leads are not a cost to me. They're an investment into my business. So you need marketing, you need sales, thinking like a business owner. Then you got to have overhead, right? So your income, your deposits are revenue. They're not income. That was something I didn't understand. See, one of the big mistakes that I made when I came into this business was that I just upgraded my clothes a little bit. I upgraded my meals a little bit. I started paying all of my in-laws' bills. Next thing you know, I'm just living broke at another level. I'm living a lie, right? Because no one took the time to explain that to me. So I want to encourage you, if you're getting started, right, don't change the way that you live. Don't change your lifestyle. You've got to pour as much of your money back into your business as you can and create systems and resources so that one day you can get to the point that now you're not trading for time for money, and you can have a system in place so now you can really enjoy that time freedom. So some of you might want to build an organization, some of you don't, but make sure you've come into this with the business owner mentality that you're going to take 100% responsibility for any result, both good and bad.